Okay, so what we've got here is a wind turbine, and we started doing that a couple of 3 years ago. It's quite a much more involved process to organise a wind turbine, because you've got to get planning permission, you've got to find out whether you think you've got the right amount of wind speed, etc. We were advised that we thought we had the right amount of wind speed, and in fact we've won a national award for the siting of this windmill because it's supposed to be quite clever at the head of a long valley. Unfortunately, two things are playing against us. The first was that this proven wind turbine was actually one of 200 turbines. It was a product recall, and because it wasn't working effectively. And secondly, we're wondering, well, is it because it was a dodgy product, or is it in fact not such a great site? We're not quite certain. Obviously, if it was sat on the top of a big hill, it would be ideal wind conditions. So we're yet to see, but certainly it's a lot more involved putting a turbine up because of the planning issues. With panels, you don't need any planning rights, whereas this, obviously, it's quite an impact even here on the landscape. Having said that, it does, when it's windy, produce quite a lot of electricity. The downside of it is, of course, is that we use electricity every day, and the wind turbine, as you see now, it's not turning. It works every few days, or sometimes it works flat out in the middle of the night, and we want power all the time. So I'd have to be quite honest and say I'm not a big fan of wind turbines per se, although I think nationally or out at sea big wind farms are probably a useful thing for the country, but not perhaps for a single person making a single investment. It wouldn't be my top tip. So these red boxes here, this basically, these are an inverter setup for our windmill, and similarly as with PV, basically you have DC current arriving into inverters. That current is converted by these into AC current, which again goes to a generation meter, so you can clock up a feed-in tariff. This monitors the overall voltage, goes through said G59 relay to decide what it thinks of the current. If it likes the current, we use the power. If we don't use the power on site, it gets exported into the national grid. So in theory, just like with PV, either you benefit from an export payment or you use it yourself, but either way you get paid feed-in tariff.